So in this segment, we're going to be talking about another comical article from another comical Tory MP, which is Time Boris Johnson stood up to EU bullies, free Northern Ireland from the protocol, even though Northern Ireland is doing really well, in part because of the Northern Ireland Protocol, which protected them from a lot of the bad side effects of Brexit. So this article from the 26th of March, I'm a bit behind, I'm ill, I've got a cold. And so I've got loads of these topics to go through, and then I've got more recent stuff with Sunak and other people to go through. So we'll just go through these as quick as I can, really, and of course as best I can. So this article is a joke. You can tell this is a Tory MP who wrote this, Andrew Rosindell, Conservative MP for Romford. If you're voting for him in Romford, give your head a shake. He's a joke. So thankfully, the people of the UK voted to get Brexit done now. It's funny because you guys keep talking about, keeping Brexit done and all this nonsense when it doesn't even make sense. How could we have got Brexit done in 2019, have to renegotiate the trade and cooperation agreement in 2026, and also, according to the Boris Johnson's top advisor, keep Brexit done? Doesn't make sense. Brexit is done. It's finished for the most part. Unfortunately, our friends in Northern Ireland cannot get Brexit done because of the Northern Ireland Protocol. Now, what these people don't understand is when you voted for the withdrawal agreement back in 2020, right? I think it was January 2020. You voted for the Northern Ireland Protocol. So unless you're going to claim you're an idiot and you didn't know what you voted for, because if that's the case, you shouldn't be in Parliament. If that's what you're going to argue, then cool. But it's not a very strong argument, is it? You voted for this, big man. The Prime Minister needs to embrace Brexit and trigger Article 16 of the Protocol, or perhaps go even one step further and scrap the disastrous treaty for good. Now, what happens, right, when the EU scrap the Trade and Cooperation Agreement and we have to immediately sort out our business with the WTO? What happens then? Because if we don't do tariffs and things like that on EU goods, immediately that's going to cause massive problems in the WTO. We're already giving them essentially a more favourable path into the UK via their exports, because we're not doing physical checks and we're not doing security and safety checks, etc. For other countries' imports, we are, or at least we're meant to do that. So if we don't start putting tariffs on EU goods, we're going to start causing problems. We could lower the tariffs on our WTO tariffs essentially for everyone, but that in itself can cause problems to the point where we haven't sorted that stuff out already. That's an issue. I don't think we've even changed EU era tariffs, which it's been 2 years, guys. So the idea that we can trigger Article 16 or get rid of the protocol entirely and there's no backlash is just so stupid. The TCA will get dropped, and then Northern Ireland will be in a very, very bad position. Not to forget the fact that you could see violence erupting back in Northern Ireland because of the decisions that the government could make here. Not very bright, are they? So going on, the protocol unfairly keeps Northern Ireland in the EU single market, a customs union with the EU. So the protocol, the protocol is a byproduct of Brexit. The Brexit Boris Johnson chose. It's a part of the withdrawal agreement. So it beggars belief that these people come up with these arguments. Oh, pensioners are not happy with Rishi Sunak. Good stuff. Great Britain is defined as a third country, and that is completely against what I and the Conservative Unionist Party stand for, which, again, doesn't make sense. We voted to be a third country. It doesn't make sense. Unless he's talking about Great Britain being a third country and Northern Ireland not being a third country to the EU. That seems to be what he's trying to argue, but he's clumsily done it. We stand together as a United Kingdom, which includes Northern Ireland. We cannot sell out the people of Northern Ireland, but you did sell out the people of Northern Ireland. That's the point. You could have kept the entirety of Great Britain, the entirety of the UK inside the single market and customs union for goods. You could have done that, but you didn't. So for them to argue, we're a United Kingdom, tragedy has befallen Northern Ireland. The only tragedy that befell Northern Ireland was the Tory party. Let's be honest here. The European Union has acted in bad faith since day one of the protocol. That's not true. In fact, it's the opposite, because these guys love projection. It's we have acted in bad faith since the start of the protocol. We are the ones who negotiated the the grace periods. We're the ones who said, yeah, these grace periods are fine. When the EU said you can have longer ones if you want, we said no. And then once those grace periods elapsed, we started crying about it. We're the ones who made constant demands about the EU to make changes when we had no right to. But in the end, the EU did grant us some of the changes we want. There is an agreement. I think that's gone through on medicines. I need to check up on that one. But it's just a joke, honestly. arguing the EU has acted in bad faith over the protocol makes no sense. They have never been interested in getting a deal that works for both parties. I mean, the EU don't have to care what unionists think. That's what the British government has to do. Because that's what they want. The unionists want to be a part of the United Kingdom. Like, that's not the EU's responsibility. The only thing they wanted to do was keep peace on the island of Ireland. That was it. That is because more trade is being diverted to the Republic of Ireland, which benefits the EU. That trade will not benefit the EU that much. It will benefit Ireland a lot more, but it won't benefit the EU as a whole. You do realise the EU is massive. It's a massive economy. The EU has never wanted the protocol to work. Not true. Projection. Again, it's the British government that never wanted the protocol to work. There were always all of these stories about Boris Johnson telling the ERG, don't worry, as soon as the Brexit is done, we're going to scrap the protocol. That's why all of these guys in the ERG, and all of these backbenchers keep pushing for us to use Article 16 or for us to, get rid of the protocol. All of this stuff, because I think that's what they were told. That's what the unionists seem to have been told as well. But lo and behold, the British government lies. And instead of being a temporary measure for the short term, it's not meant to be a temporary measure. It's meant to be there until 2024, when there will be some sort of kind of not an election, but a kind of a vote on it, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But there will be some sort of vote on it in Northern Ireland regarding the protocol and if they want to keep it or not. The entire Brexit negotiations have been infected from the outset by deliberate misinterpretation of the Belfast Agreement. The Belfast Agreement has nothing really to do with the Northern Ireland Protocol. The Belfast Agreement, the Good Friday Agreement, says is there can't be a hard border in the island of Ireland. So what does that mean? You either take Ireland out of the EU single market and customs union for goods, which was never going to work, or you put a border in the Irish Sea. That was it. Because the UK didn't want to stay a part of the EU single market for goods. The EU single market and customs union for goods. We didn't want that. So your two options are take Ireland out of the EU single market, never going to happen, or you put a border in the Irish Sea. That was it. So that's what happened. The UK is a guarantor of the Good Friday Agreement. Let's not forget here. What has transpired is that the default position has been to view the agreement through the principle of nationalist Irish government interpretation, which isn't true, is it? It was, he says, right, you misinterpreted it. Where? He doesn't explain how. That's what annoys me about these people. They make these broad statements, but they don't explain how. The Good Friday Agreement is designed not to put a hard border in the island of Ireland. That was the point of it. Put simply, every constructive ambiguity and provision has been, and we are told, must be resolved in favour of nationalism. That is unsustainable. That is not true at all. It's not to be done in the favour of nationalism. It's to be done in the favour of the actual Northern Ireland Protocol, what was written, what the idea was around the Northern Ireland Protocol, which is to stop goods leaking into the EU single market via Northern Ireland. That was the point of it. Unfortunately, those who threatened violence if checks were carried out at the frontier were rewarded by putting checks in the Irish Sea. Now, what they told you is, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen if you put a hard border in Ireland. That's what the EU were told. And you know what? If the EU allowed it, the Americans would have got involved, because the Americans are very wary about any violence erupting in Ireland. So this argument he makes here, utter void, saying that the people who promised violence will reward it's not true. They didn't promise violence, they said it would happen as a result of putting a hard border in the island of Ireland. And they talk about more trade going to Ireland, which it was going to happen. Once you put trade barriers in the way of any two countries, right, or any two entities, trade is ultimately going to diverge. It's going to change, because they'll try and get the goods from either elsewhere where it could be cheaper, but they'll face the same sort of customs or paperwork problems, or they're going to look for countries where there's not as much paperwork problems. It's not hard to figure out, guys. This is leading to a united economic island of Ireland, and the Irish government sees this an opportunity to create a politically united island. What do you mean, a politically united island? It won't be politically united. It will be united based on, kind of a UN thing. It will be based on, it's kind of hard to explain constructivism, but it won't be politically united. Well, I suppose it would be. It'd be united as a country, as a whole, as it was before the British invaded. We cannot allow this to continue, If Ireland is reunified, it should be up to the people in Northern Ireland and the people in the Republic of Ireland. That's who it should be up to, not up to the British government. He goes, the EU have given us plenty of reason to trigger Article 16, yet he does not give one example, which is annoying again. I'm not seeing it, because I think you have to explain how the protocol has created unforeseen problems, which hasn't really happened, and the areas where it has, well, you can try and argue it has. The EU have said, okay, we'll fix that. and they have done. They've spoken to businesses to fix issues, and they have done. We should use that lever to free Northern Ireland from the worst of both worlds situation. In fact, ironically, Northern Ireland is actually in the best of both worlds. In the EU single market for goods, they can export to GB, no border checks. They can export to Ireland, no border checks. They can export to France with no border checks. They're doing all right, pal. He goes, I believe it's absolutely critical for Northern Irish citizens that there is a swift resolution to the protocol. I mean, there is a swift resolution to the protocol. It's going to stay, at least until 2024. I welcome the VAT cuts in the Chancellor's spring statement. Again, the thing with VAT cuts is companies can just pocket the difference. If you cut VAT by, say, 10%, instead of lowering prices by 10%, they just keep the 10%. But unfortunately, the people of Northern Ireland will not feel the benefit of Brexit because they are still under EU rules, which, okay, maybe that's one you could argue. It's a bit of a dodgy area because obviously if VAT is cut on certain products, it does give Northern Ireland some sort of trade advantage. But that's something where you can negotiate that with the EU. You can talk about how that's an issue. And in fact, you should have known about that when you voted for it because that would have been part of the withdrawal agreement. So really, that's on you, big boy, once again. People anywhere else in the UK should not put up with this, and the people of Northern Ireland should not be treated differently from anyone else in the UK, yet you voted for this. That's what you wanted, really, wasn't it? I asked the Minister to take urgent action by standing up to the bureaucratic posturing of the European Union. They love calling the EU bureaucrats, honestly, favourite insult. And ensuring that oak tree samplings can be traded freely between Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK for Her Majesty's the Queen's Platinum Jubilee when, if that's the case, why did you vote for the Northern Ireland Protocol then? Because you're the one who voted for this, really. This whole thing about oak tree saplings, again, that's something they can talk to the EU about, but if there are health connotations to it, if it can cause problems, then of course the EU are going to be like, these things need to be checked. That's pretty much it. Like, if it's a health issue or a potential issue, the EU are obviously going to ask for it to be checked. But if you've got nothing to worry about, it should be fine. It's going to add costs. Of course, paperwork has a cost, but again, it's barely a deal breaker, is it? He says, I was glad to hear that Minister Burns and his team are working hard with the Foreign Secretary and the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland, so you got Liz Truss and Brendan Lewis, to find a reasonable resolution to this problem. However, time is running out and we need action. So essentially they said, we'll look into it. But they're not going to do anything because they can't, because it's up to the EU to do something, because we ceded power to the EU over Northern Ireland. That's what you voted for, big boy. He says, we have a deep bond across our islands and we should stand in unity against fellow citizens being constitutionally and economically discriminated against, which is not really happening, is it? And if it is, you voted for it. Economically discriminated against, not really. They can't buy British goods. I mean, okay, like, who cares? Like, it's not that deep, man. That's the point I'm trying to make here. Brexit has not been completed in Northern Ireland, yes, because you voted to kick out Northern Ireland out of the UK single market and customs union for goods and put them in the EU single market and customs union. That was you. Is being left behind, cannot share in the true benefits of taking back control. Like what? What are the true benefits of taking back control? Like, he haven't listed any in this article. The PM needs to show the same leadership he has done and stand up to EU bullies. I mean, A, I'd love to see that. B, the EU aren't bullies, and C, you've got nothing, pal. You've given little to no examples apart from saplings and some other nonsense. You've got nothing because, again, if you start trying to trigger Article 16 and getting rid of the protocol or whatever, you're going to scrap the TCA. That's a key problem. I think there was a bit where he talked about some sort of I couldn't see it in the article this time around, but I'm sure I did see it first time round when I was reading through it about issues around the kind of democracy around the protocol. So under the terms of the withdrawal agreement, which the Right Honourable Gentleman voted for, the Northern Ireland institutions will be periodically asked to consent to the trading arrangements in Articles 5 and 10 of the protocol as long as they are in place. It would give the institutions an opportunity to vote on whether to remain in the arrangements or choose to exit from them. So it's about the protocol. The first consent vote is due to take place in 2024. Now, you know why these guys are panicking so much about triggering Article 16 right now. It's because they know, by the looks of it, Sinn Féin will get the First Minister position, and that the Unionists, I don't know if they'll have a majority, but it's kind of in doubt at the moment. They're not looking too good in the polls, and I think as kind of it goes on closer towards the election, I don't think they're going to do very well, to put it bluntly, especially with Sinn Féin focusing more on day-to-day issues and the the DUP crying about the protocol. So you got to think to yourself, that's a key issue. The withdrawal agreement itself doesn't state how Ireland should give consent. Sorry, Northern Ireland should give consent. It states that it's for the UK to determine that, so they can do an all-out referendum, or it can be a consent via the MLAs in the Northern Ireland Assembly. So it's up to the UK. The UK can actually really figure out which ones are more beneficial if they wanted to get rid of the protocol, for example. If they say, look, we'll put it to referendum because the majority of the MLAs are either nationalist parties, or they're just kind of indifferent or accepting of the protocol. Sort of more, I think, the Alliance Party, where they're maybe not the biggest fans of the protocol, but they'll accept it because they see it benefits Northern Ireland. We go on to our final bit, which is, once it loads, it was a tweet from a person, there we go, in which, so this article in which Rosendale, who like all Tory MPs campaigned in 2019 on Johnson's oven-ready deal, which included the Northern Ireland Protocol, and then voted for it, now complains about it. Includes a now standard Brexiteer lie that the protocol was only a temporary measure, which is simply not the case. The only way you can argue it's temporary is over the consent mechanism. That's it. Anything else is just noise from them. Anything else about, GB can't make the decision here. It'll be parts of the withdrawal agreement that say when consent needs to be asked for. That's it. So for them to make any other argument about it being temporary makes no sense. It's painful, isn't it? But anyways, look, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.